2 World Series titles with the Toronto Blue Jays back in the day. Duane Ward joining us on the line. Duane, how are things with you? How are things with the family?
Everything's very good, guys. Hey, thanks a lot for asking.
Yeah, it feels like we got to start there each and every time. We've been watching a lot of the Jays Glory Days baseball up here. Have you taken the time to rewatch any of the famous 2 runs?
You know what? I started getting a bunch of text messages and stuff from friends up in Canada saying, gosh, they're replaying the '92 World Series, '93 World Series, and talking to family here and stuff. So it'd be really nice to be able to sit there and watch that stuff. And bad thing is I don't get the channels down here, so I don't I didn't get a chance to it. But it's great. I'm glad they're doing some stuff, showing some baseball, even though it's it's been put on hold right now, and that people can kind of reminisce a little bit and remember baseball back in the day.
Dwayne, I was watching Korean baseball at 3:00 in the morning last night. That's how much I miss it.
That's
how much? I mean, you have a deeper history in the game than I do. How much are you missing it?
It's something where it's always been such a constant. Nothing in my lifetime has ever disrupted baseball outside of a labor dispute or something like that. But for something like this to happen, and I'm always gearing up, with doing all the stuff that I do, and with the Blue Jays organization, and trying to say, okay, what am I going to do this spring? What am I going to be doing this summer? And to have all that just basically put on hold, it's something that I wish we had baseball right now.
Are you starting to get the feeling that we're getting closer to maybe it coming back?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. What? Friends of mine up there, they're always asking me, say, what do you think? What do you think? And I'm like, to me, it's, where do you take that risk, or when do you take that chance to say, okay, let's just go ahead and open this up, and let's basically just quarantine the teams and just let them play each other. And they were asking me what my thoughts were about it, and I said, what, if they can get this thing to calm down, if they can get some resemblance of normalcy, and, players can be protected, fans can be protected, front office people can be protected and stuff. I told them I didn't think it would happen until probably mid-July, sometime like around after the All-Star break, scheduled All-Star break. And, but, right now it's just, it's a situation where, gosh, you don't want this this COVID-19 to rear its ugly head again when when you've been kicking on it, for the last, few months, and all of a sudden it rears its head again. And, here we go back into the same thing that we were, 3 months ago.
Duane Ward, 2-time World Series champion with the Toronto Blue Jays, here on Tim and Sid. Obviously safety is the priority, Duane. If you were playing
Absolutely.
today, and you were in this situation in terms of uncertainty, and you didn't know what was next, health is a priority. What's your second biggest priority if you were playing today? What question would you need answered by Major League Baseball?
Boy, gosh, what would be the second biggest question? God, it'd have to be, my family. If I go back and play, and all of a sudden one person on the staff, or one player, or one front office person that, just happens to congregate around, all of a sudden, I may not get it as bad as somebody else, but will I be taking this back to my family? And I think that's got to be weighing on a lot of people's minds, is that, because I've heard Mike Trout talking about, his wife's pregnant with their first child. Do I take this back, to watch the birth of my first child? And, when I come back, am I going to be quarantined for 14 to 21 days? So I think health of family has got to be the second thing on there. And then, you also got to look at, the third question is, are we going to have fans, and will they be safe? And that, to me, is, those are questions I'm sure that, Mr. Manfred and all the people in baseball are trying to answer and trying to reassure and stuff. But I think, safety of the team and everything else, and then safety of family.
Duane Ward joining us here on Tim Sid. He's a two-time World Series champion in Toronto. And Duane, I got to ask you, I know we're kind of being self-indulgent looking back at the glory days, but I got to let you.
Those were good days.
They were good, and they were good days to watch. I wanted to ask you, there are some, as I was watching it, there are some pretty damn good players on those two teams that won back-to-back in 92, 93. Who do you remember being even better than most folks gave them credit for?
Oh, gosh, better than most people give them credit for.
Like, who was the guy that maybe didn't get enough love?
Well, in 90, Jimmy Key was one guy that I thought that a lot of people overlooked because, he just went out there and did his job. And, and all of a sudden it's like, Jimmy wins the game, and I thought Jimmy might have been a little bit of guy that, was overshadowed by, look at the names that were on the teams. I mean, even though Jimmy was drafted by the Jays, came up to the Jays organization and did all the great stuff he did for the Blue Jays. It just seemed like he was in the shadow of, a Dave Steve, or he's in the shadow of Jack Morris when he came over. It just seemed like Jimmy was always, in the shadow. Jimmy Key.
Yeah.
Good answer. Duane, before we let you go, I know next month in St. Mary's, Ontario, at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame was going to be a rather special event with yourself, Justin Morneau, John Olerud, and Jacques Doucette. Obviously, that weekend, June 18th weekend, it's been postponed. Time is not our friend here, but how eager are you to eventually get to St. Mary's for what should be a fantastic weekend for you and the guys?
Well, keeping in contact with Scott Crawford over at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and stuff, he said, we're working on trying to get something done this year and no confirmed dates yet. I just thought they postponed the Cooperstown, the National Baseball Hall of Fame induction all the way until next year. So, that wasn't good. But, I looked at it and I told Scott, I said, at least it gives me more time to write my speech. I'm excited about. I'm excited about it because it's not every day you get inducted into the Hall of Fame and Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and I'm just honored by it. And I know that I know Scott would hate me if I didn't say it, but something about Giving Tuesday today that I know people have so many different choices to who to help out with, and just please keep in mind the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame because they really do. They have a limited budget, and they're closed just like everybody else, and they can use help through donations, memberships, or anything that you can do to help out the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame to keep cherished items and everything else of Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame going. But I'm excited. I hope it happens, and maybe one of these days, it'll be me and John and Justin Morneau and Jacques getting together and just telling some stories about what we've been through. And I know John's been through a lot. His daughter just passed away, and so I just know it's going to be a great time. And whenever it happens, I'm looking forward to it. I'm honored to be.
Duane, we always are honored when you catch up with us. Thanks for doing this, and we'll do it again soon. Okay.
Yeah, please, guys. Anytime you guys want to talk, please just let me know you guys want to, and give me a call, and we'll sit down and talk.
That'd be great. There is Duane Ward. Thank you. Thanks to the family. And for those looking for that website, by the way, baseballhalloffame.ca is where you can find the memberships and the things that he's talking about, because it is a great little spot there.
Outstanding.
In St. Mary's, Ontario.